Coming to you from a wrong turn off Route 66. Somewhere in the Sonoran Desert, it's James Out West.
Good evening, Phoenix and friends. Let me talk to you. James Out West on this beautiful, it was pretty hot, Monday the 13th of May, 2024. As always in studio, KDUS 1060. Pat the stat guy on the other side, Aaron on the other side of the glass. We got playoff basketball in the background. We've had a lot going on sports-wise. Now, real quick, shout out Jason Gower. Dude, Aaron, about a week ago, I lost my credentials. I lost my credentials that I had in my truck. I knew I had them in there. I was pretty sure I tossed them over on my seat. And then I know we had people getting in and out, the kids getting in and out, my wife getting in and out. And then I didn't see it. And I was like, I know I didn't take it in the house. I was like, I must have lost it.
You're talking about all your credentials.
Yeah, like it had my Super Bowl credential.
Yeah.
It had our credentials to the Minnesota Timberwolves game for there. It had a bunch of the Suns ones in there and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, no. I got an email this morning from Kayla. Shout out Kayla, KDUS 1060. Jason emailed her, got a hold of her, and that he found them. And where he found him, he's in my neighborhood.
Nice.
So he stopped by, dropped him off. We chatted a little bit about football. Big, diehard, born and raised Arizona Cardinals fan. So he's happy they took Marvin Harrison. So that's from the streets. From the streets, the Cardinals fans, they're happy. So, again, shout out Jason. Thank you so much, my dude. All right, man. So what are we going to talk about, P?
Yeah, so we got a lot. While you're on there, we talking about Jason. I was looking up a stat from last week that we didn't go over. So I'm sorry for half paying attention.
No worries.
My bad. But yeah, so anyways, tonight we're going to start the show a little like last week. We're going to kick it off with some NFL talk. The schedule release coming out this Wednesday. We got some contract updates. Some other news, like I said, a stat from last week we'll probably go over. Then we're going to hop into the NBA, a lot going on there. The draft lottery was just completed. The NBA Combine's been going on. Of course, the NBA playoffs, surprise, surprise, Denver did not get swept like all the talking heads predicted by Minnesota. So we'll go over the last two games and probably preview the up game coming fives. Not for only for that series, but all the playoffs.
Right on.
So,
all right.
Yep.
Sorry, since we're starting the NFL, let's start with the NFL schedule release. This is what we talk about, how much the NFL is just like dominates the sporting world. And I say the sporting world in America because that's all that matters.
Yep.
In that they put a 2-hour show around it. We wait on it. There's leaks about it. You know, people put together videos about it where we're wanting to know who's playing who, and there's all this stuff going on. A million articles written about, potential games and who and what for a schedule. Baseball schedule just comes out whenever, nobody cares. Basketball schedule comes out, nobody cares. You know what basketball cares about? Who's playing on Christmas?
You're right.
Okay, cool. And who's the home opener? Okay, cool. That's really about it.
Yeah.
The fact that they have an entire day dedicated to it, which we've had some leaks. We know that the Thursday game of opening week is always the Super Bowl champ. And again, it will be again. It is the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year, they lost to Detroit at home.
Yep.
This year, they got the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that because you get two huge hitters in the AFC right out the gates.
Yeah, it's the AFC Championship rematch.
Yep. So, I love the fact that they're going to have this. Baltimore got better. Even though they lost some running backs, they lost some things. They got Derrick Henry. They got better. And I'm saying this as a Browns fan. And I know Aaron's on the side of the glass Steelers fan going, he's right.
The Chiefs got faster.
And the Chiefs got better, if
way
you can say that.
And better in that sense.
So,
yeah.
The fact that we know that, okay, that's Thursday. Friday, first ever Friday night game. They're saying, hey, high school football, take a hike. We're taking over. We're going to play one game in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And we've got the Green Bay Packers playing the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's awesome.
So that'll be a really cool,
So that's the
interesting
next
game.
day?
That's the next day. That's Friday.
All right, so anyways, for everybody, since we didn't do the date, that will be Thursday, September 5th, and Friday, September 6th.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. So you have those two games. We'll find out the full slate on Wednesday, but we already got one more game got released because Fox had to announce because of the almighty Tom Brady. They wanted to get some of those coat strings, get some of those clicks off of the Tom Brady roast.
Forgot about
Tom
that.
Brady's debut will be week 1. Of course, Fox is going to put the Dallas Cowboys on because, they're America's team. They're Fox's team.
Can they retire those Hertz commercials when he finally goes out?
I'll tell you this, but it's not at home. It's not in Jerry's World. It's on the road, and it's in Cleveland. Let's go. Cleveland Browns, September 8th, my birthday, home game against the Dallas Cowboys. I got announced today. And what's interesting about the NFL now, all of the social media teams for every team does a schedule release, like marketing video, essentially.
Right.
They're amazing. They're very entertaining. The Los Angeles Chargers last 3 years have had a phenomenal one.
Right.
The Cardinals one's good. It's really cool how they get together and they're really creative. You're in that world, Patrick, so I'm sure you could understand the love for wanting to do this. And the Browns, how they released theirs was Stephen A. Smith coming out just talking trash about the Cowboys.
That's hilarious.
Coming out, and then they just showed like that we're playing them. That's it. It was just that. It was hilarious. They just released it today. It was
so
30
they just
seconds.
Focused on the Cowboys.
Just focused on the
basically?
fact that it was the Cowboys, that he was talking to the Cowboys and laughing. Didn't think we'd see me this game. It was so funny. And they just showed the little banner that they're playing them at 4:25 p.m.
I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen it.
So the releases are going to get there. But again, the fact that holds so much juice, there's so much, power behind just a schedule release.
Yeah.
Is wild. And again, remains why football is king. So with that being said, let's talk about the rookies. Because the rookies are in minicamp right now. So you have all these quarterbacks everybody's been talking about. Drake May's in New England. You know what Gerard Mayo said? That boy got a lot to learn, which is understandable.
Yeah.
He's a rookie. Now in Chicago, Caleb Williams he got started early with the playbook and getting the concept of their scheme. So he would go into it knowing, because he already knew he was going to go number one. So they said he's kind of in there already feeling better about it. Of course, Washington's going to pump up their guy, because what do degenerate, bad organizations do? They put so much on a young guy to be their savior, and that's what they're doing with I almost called McDaniels, with Daniels. But hopefully his shoulders can handle it, because there's a lot going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that they have to fix the pipes in the stadium because it leaks sewage and the seats fall down and there's all kinds of stuff going on. They have a lot more to worry about than just on the field. You have a couple, Michael Penix Jr. in Atlanta, seeing what he's going to go through, because he said he understands the role that he's in. It's going to take time, of course, but there's going to be that pressure. Mm-hmm. So watching all these guys in camp and seeing how they progress through the next few weeks is going to have what us football people are looking for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As far as live action stuff going on, that's what we're going to want to see.
Yeah,
now,
for sure.
Let me ask you this, Pat, because we talked about this guy. You made fun of him forever, as a lot of people did. Number one pick, went to a Super Bowl, got, as Dan Orlovsky said, got thrown in the trash, got sent out, got exiled to Detroit, said, go and finish your career there, loser.
Yeah, and just got the bag.
And just got a $212 million extension, 4 year with $170 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
That is pretty phenomenal. And I'll give Dan Orlovsky this. Shout out Dano. I'll give him this. He backed it up with stats that Goff deserves this, considering he's the number one quarterback in the red zone. He's 18 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the fourth quarter and overtime in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
He had stats to back up the reason why he believes that it's a good idea. At the end of the day, every quarterback's going to make 35. Any starting quarterback in the NFL is going to make 30-some plus $1 million a year.
Yeah. Well,
so if you got a guy that's above average, pay him, because you're going to pay somebody else, and chances are that guy's going to stink.
Right. Well,
so if you've got a guy in the building and you think he's competent enough, like they believe that they can win a Super Bowl with him, he's been to one. He wasn't the reason they lost that Super Bowl to New England. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if you got him, give him the money, because somebody else will, and you're going to end up in a deep, dark hole if you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, my reaction is definitely going to be that of a Vikings fan. And I've got to say, I used to talk a lot of trash on Goff. I never thought he was an elite quarterback. I never really did. And he's proven me wrong. I don't know if he's still got quite elite level, but you won't catch me talking too much trash on him from now on. But at the same time, I will kind of say something that, again, Kwesi, our GM, said about Kirk Cousins a long time. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, but he's not Pat Mahomes, right? So now I know, hey, the Lions, they've got a good quarterback, but they don't have Pat Mahomes, right? So we just got a new rookie quarterback. Like you said, rookie camp was this week. I can't wait to see J.J. McCarthy work out with, Justin Jefferson, the other J.J., and the starters, and see how good they are. And there's a chance that J.J. McCarthy becomes better than Jared Goff. I'm not guaranteeing it by any means, but seeing that's their guy. I know that's their guy. I think they're going to be good, and they're probably going to be better than us this year, maybe even the year after. But again, he's not Pat Mahomes. He doesn't really intimidate me that much, and I doubt he intimidates. The Lions are intimidating as a whole. But again, in the NFC North, I don't know if you're that scared of Jared Goff. He's not Pat Mahomes. I'm going to keep saying that.
Well, and as a Vikings fan, you have to feel that way, because, the Bears, their offense looks dangerous if Caleb Williams is very good.
Right.
The way, on all levels, they have elite talent at all sides. So it's going to be a great
congrats to
year
him.
in the NFC North. We should see what happens. Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm excited for them. It's going to be awesome. So, all right, so on the other side of the break, we're going to talk. We might have a little bit more football, and then we're going to go right into basketball, because we got a ton to talk about. Like Pat said, there's so much going on. You guys listen to KDUS 1060 Phoenix, home of the Dan Patrick Show and the Danettes. Rich Eisen, and of course James Out West featuring Pat the Stat Guy. Make sure you guys come on back on the other side. Thank you, CJ. Thanks for everybody hanging out with us today tonight. James out west, Pat the Stat Guy, KDUS 1060 Studios, Phoenix. Aaron on the side of the glass. We got NBA basketball going on. There's still some stuff to talk about with the NFL, though. You got some stats we wanted to cover, and then it's just going to lead into some things because you brought up some stuff about drafts and lineage and all this good stuff. So,
Yeah.
P, take it away.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't know which one we should start with, but let's do the stat from last week. So officially, the Carson Wentz Colts-Eagles trade is officially complete.
Okay.
Now that the draft is complete, So the Eagles take from that trade, right, which, again, I'm just thinking ahead here, like, man, maybe we're overvaluing quarterbacks here.
Maybe.
But the Eagles' take was A.J. Brown.
He's pretty good.
Devonta Smith.
He's pretty good.
Jalen Carter, and then this year they drafted Cooper DeJean, the cornerback from Iowa. So that's their take for Carson Wentz.
So they basically have 4 All-Pros.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about Cooper, but yeah.
Yeah,
no, he's.
4 starters.
Yeah, I think he was a second-round
How
pick
about 4
or something
starters?
like that. Yeah,
We'll go
exactly.
with that, 4
yeah,
starters.
exactly. Yep. And that's their two best wide receivers.
Right.
Yeah, and then again, like Jalen Carter, stud D tackle, and then a corner that everyone sees a lot of promise in. So yeah.
See, I could have done some research and looked at because the Deshaun Watson trade's finally over with, and I just don't want to see what Houston got.
Oh wow.
Out of all that.
Yeah.
Because they got pretty good.
Yeah,
they got pretty good. So I'm assuming
fast.
I'm assuming a lot of those had to do with the picks that we gave them. So
yeah. I'm gonna have to put that up next to your face when we put this video out. But yeah. Yeah, so either way, last week I thought that was interesting. We never got to it. It's just one of those, wow, that's crazy type things. So, like, again, maybe we are overvaluing quarterbacks. That's another reason why I'm glad the Vikings didn't give up all those first-round draft picks for a quarterback. Because, like,
Agreed.
Who knows what the team that we traded with turns that into, right?
Agreed.
And so this is one of those examples. And
well,
then
go ahead.
Go for it.
No, I was going to say, all right, so you had 2 Hall of Fame receivers have their sons drafted in this year's NFL draft.
That's right.
And everybody's talking about the lineage of Marvin Harrison Jr., Marvin Harrison Sr.
Yeah.
And no one's
Great genetics.
And no one's talking about, sorry, Rooksy, love you, Rooksy, miss you, Rooksy. The consensus number one, either greatest player of all time or greatest receiver of all time in Jerry Rice. But his lineage didn't get drafted in the first round or the second or the third, or the fourth, fifth, sixth.
Yeah.
He got drafted in the 7th round.
Yeah.
Not saying that players in the 7th round don't make impacts in the NFL, don't end up going on to have great careers, and some go on to be Hall of Famers. Not saying that can't happen.
Right, and we're not trying to knock, it's Brendan Rice, right? Like, out of USC, and again, Arizona boy.
Mm-hmm.
So, shout out Brendan Rice for getting drafted.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like, he talked about the reaction, his dad's reaction after getting drafted, and he said his dad was hot, right?
Absolutely.
And his dad was like, it's time to get to work. Basically, like, time to prove some people wrong. And it just made me think, I think he was still proud of his son. His son's in a good situation being with the Chargers. Like, I'd want to play for the Chargers,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But I feel like there's got to be a part of this where he's just thinking about how, everyone's talking about Marvin Harrison Jr.,
mm-hmm.
right? Like, about how he comes from these great genetics. And then, again, his son's in the draft and his son, dropped to the 7th round. Like, I don't know, I'm sure teams were telling him, we're thinking about taking you as high as 4 or 5 or whatever. I'm sure they tell you all this stuff. So maybe there was a little bit of a drop. But it was enough to make them go, all right, it's time to get to work. And to be honest, I feel like that's going to be Jerry's new obsession, is just proving his son is his new project. You know, not golf and getting a hole in one. It's going to be his son is his project.
And this is all Jerry's ego.
Yep.
This is all Jerry Rice's ego because it's about his name.
Yeah.
His son
That's
got...
probably why he named him Jerry Rice Jr.
Exactly. That's why I said I named him Brendan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to... Hey, we just don't know yet. Yeah, he's like looking at him. He's holding him as a baby. He's like, I don't know if he's got 4.3 speed. I'm looking at his hands. His hands, they're not long enough. Okay, we're naming him Brendan.
He's got 4.5 speed.
Yeah, he's got 4.5 speed. But
But again, he went for his point was like, hey, I'm in a good situation. I went from Caleb Williams to Justin Herbert, Well,
and we looked at the stats because we talked about this over the weekend a little bit. It was like, okay, he played with Caleb for 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And in the last 2 seasons, we'll just go. He played with them the last 2 seasons. Not this year, but the year before, Caleb was the Heisman. We looked at the stat line. Granted, there was another receiver there, but if Brendan was the man or was as good as Marvin Harrison was and deserved to be drafted higher than the 7th round, his stat line would have been a lot better to have been paired with a Heisman winner.
Yeah, but you just reminded me, the one stat that stood out to us, I don't have them in front of me. He had 12 touchdowns.
Not last year, the year before.
So, you might have, good on the Chargers for drafting him, knowing, hey, his dad is Jerry Rice. He's got the pedigree. He did play with a quarterback who got taken number 1, and he got 12 touchdowns. So they might have gotten something there. And again, 7th rounder. So, again, good on the Chargers. They might have something there. And especially with this Jerry's new project, Jerry's going to make sure he's ready.
And it's in L.A. I mean, what a great situation to be in, to be honest. New stadium, you got Justin Herbert. You've got probably one of the best positions you could be. You played at USC. You're familiar with the area, all of those good things because they're both in the hood. There's a lot going on. So, it's all good.
I'll be rooting for him. I'm not it's just funny. I know that there has to be something to that Marvin Harrison stuff, though. That's just killing Jerry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I wanted to bring this up real quick because obviously we're going to talk a lot of NBA, but the transition from NBA to basketball is this. We heard, Austin Rivers set the internet ablaze last week talking about there's 30 guys in the NBA that could play in the NFL, but there's not the other way around.
Right.
And, you had everybody going off the rails. Everybody's talking about it. But this is a conversation that's been going on for a long time. That's been acknowledged, like football players, basketball players, crossing over and all these things. And I will tell you this, that after listening to Austin Rivers today, he makes a compelling case for what he's saying as far as and he said receivers and tight ends only. He wasn't saying anything else. That these guys go play receiver and tight end. He's like, let me remind you, he's 6'5", 220 with a 40-inch vertical.
Yeah.
He's like, I couldn't take a hit, but to tell me those guys are going to come in here and make jump shots, oh my gosh, they can dunk. Oh, they're 6'5", we're 7 foot. Mm-hmm. I don't know, what are they going to do? Mark Andrews, yeah, he's big and fast. He can get a rebound. That's not going to make it in the NBA, though. I think he's got a point. That I think that the transition from guys being able to play in the NFL from the NBA or from basketball to football translates better at the professional level than the other way around. Look at Antonio Gates. Look at Julius Peppers. Look at Antonio Gonzalez. Those guys went straight from playing basketball into playing football. No, those two played football in college too, but Antonio Gates never played football and went right into the NFL playing from basketball at Kent State and was a Hall of Famer. That's not happening the other way around.
Yeah.
I understand that they're super athletic, like we were talking about. DBs are basically gymnasts. They can all dunk a basketball too, flat-footed, 2 hands.
But they're all 5'9".
Right.
Yeah.
They can't do anything else.
Yeah.
What are you telling me Pat Mahomes is not going to – they're not going to get it done. Lamar Jackson's an elite athlete. He's 6'2".
Yeah, and
that's
honest,
a point guard.
Yeah, a lot of them don't reach the height requirement. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the guys that are 6'7", they're O-linemen. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is hard. I actually do kind of see it your way that I think there is probably more NBA players that can translate and probably at a lot of skill positions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm it's a trend lately. I like to blank on names on the radio, but who's the point guard for the Kings? De'Aaron Fox.
Thank you.
Okay, so De'Aaron Fox, right? A guy like De'Aaron Fox, right? He's small in the NBA, right? He looks tiny. He's 6'3" and runs a 4.4. Imagine, he might even be taller than 6'3". He probably translates pretty well.
Right, he could
to
play
the NFL,
a wide
right?
receiver, yeah. So
the skill position guys 100% because they're super athletic. And I think that a lot of the NFL players, when they heard this, the first thing they were going you couldn't last through a day through training camp, right?
Right.
They just think football's tougher. There's a toughness to playing football that you guys don't have, right? They've got the athleticism, and what you guys don't have the other way around is you don't have the height.
Right.
There's probably some guys that could ball, you know what I mean? Other sports, I know it crosses over. I know Mookie Betts could play 7 sports. You know what I mean?
Right.
To bring in and just, I know.
From an athletic standpoint, he's athletic enough to.
There's some, maybe CJ Stroud and some of these guys you've seen, tapes of them playing basketball. I'm not saying CJ specifically, but there's guys who are athletes. They're 6'3" quarterbacks. They could play shooting guard or something, right?
I thought he actually gave a really good answer to it when CJ Stroud goes, I might be able to get, what did he say? He goes, I might be able to get 5-7 points a game in the NBA maybe. He was being humble
being
too.
A shooter.
Because you heard what Micah Parsons said. They asked him, Micah Parsons goes, I'd average 20. I'd average 20 points a game in the NBA. And CJ Stroud goes, you're a Dallas Cowboy. You're delusional. You're delusional. This is not there's no way you'd average 20, bro. You wouldn't. He's like, you consider yourself a shooter, CJ? You're saying you're going to get 5 points a game? He's like, do you know how hard it is? It is so hard to score a bucket in the NBA. It is so hard. Even if you take the big, in the NFL, you got guys on the line that are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". They're 300 pounds.
Yeah.
They're not getting up and down the court.
But yeah.
What are their jump shot skills going to look like? You know what I mean? The transition, I think, goes the other way. Yeah, sure, maybe.
But either way, I was going to say, because Austin Rivers didn't specify, I'm just talking tight ends and wide receivers, people started talking about all these positions and thinking about it, right? And of course, everyone's thought of LeBron, like what would LeBron be like? It's as a tight end, right? But one guy who's been getting a lot of love from NFL players, one being Pat Mahomes, was ASU's Lou Dort.
Yeah.
Right? People look at Lou Dort, they see this lockdown defender, this aggressive defender, and they look at his body size and his, and they go, that guy could be a linebacker in the NFL.
So real quick, my brother just texted me. Myles Garrett would be a better Zion. Stop it.
No.
He would not be a better Zion.
The other way around, like Zion couldn't be a Myles Garrett.
Zion couldn't play defensive end, and I don't think Myles Garrett could be a power forward in the NBA the way that Zion plays.
So here's the thing about Zion, because I've thought about Zion, like, think about Zion at D tackle or something like that. Like he's freak specimen, but like that's where the training camp stuff comes in.
Yeah.
Like, could he make it through a training
Right,
camp?
he
Zion,
had to play O-line
if
in
Zion
the 80s.
just worked his ass off and was doing, Zion really, like, he could play I think he could play in the NFL, but that's a big question mark.
My brother, shout out Seth. That's a wild one. I mean, yeah, you see him playing at the Lifetime Fitness against guys like me.
Yeah,
he does look like he could play in the NBA
for sure.
And in a celebrity game. But like, let me see him in a game against give me him against the number 12, 13, and 14 guys on the in the G League.
Yeah.
And see how he does. There are levels to levels.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me. But it was a great conversation they had. J.J. Watt he went out and blasted Austin Rivers, and then had to come back and apologize because he didn't read the whole thing and didn't get the full context of it because he thought Austin Rivers saying he was one of them. Austin's like, I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah.
I can't be in there. I'm just saying he has the height for it, the size-wise.
Right.
So, all right, anyway, other side of the break, we're going to dive into basketball finally. There's so much stuff going on with the playoffs, with the NBA draft, and all that stuff going on. So you guys listen to KDUS, home of the ASU baseball team, the NAU Lumberjacks, and of course, for the 15th year in a row, maybe not, either way, your Las Vegas Raiders. Shout out Bowers. Come on back.
Welcome back to James Out West on KDUS 1060.
All right, thanks for hanging out with us in the night. James Out West, KDUS 1060. Me and Pat were talking right through the break because we started talking about these, players playing in the NBA versus the NFL. My brother comes back. I have to let him know. He's like, give him 1 year with a trainer, and he'd be bullying him up. He's 6'4", Seth. He's 270. Let's say he slims down to 240.
Know what we're talking about.
Yeah, he's 6'4". Myles Garrett is 6'4". That's a two-guard, bro. That's a two-guard. This isn't 90s ball where he could be Charles Barkley.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, here was my counter to that, right? Because he's claiming Zion, right?
Right.
And Zion is listed at 6'6", right? And I recently, as a little debate online about moving KD from power forward to small forward, I said he doesn't have the size for a power forward, and someone was debating me. I recently looked up KD's height weight, and they have KD listed at 6'11", 240.
There's no way. He's never been 240 pounds. Was he holding 40 pounds of that?
That's what I'm saying. So, they lie about this stuff all the time, and here's my example to say that that's a lie, right? If you haven't seen KD in person, and I get it, he's 6'11", but the guy is, rail thin, right? So another example is at 6'11", 243 is Giannis.
So Giannis's shoulders are only 3 pounds bigger than
KD, right?
than KD. Like, you see the size difference between those two.
LeBron, 6'9", 250.
Yeah.
10 pounds more than KD, and then Wemby, 7'4", right? A little taller than KD, 209.
Yeah.
So either way, if they're lying about Zion's height at 6'6", and he is 6'5", I guess they'd be lying about Myles Garrett's height too, wouldn't they, as a pro athlete? But either way, Myles is a freak athlete.
100%.
I don't know, man, Zion's really not that tall.
No, he's not. But again,
he's Charles Barkley. He's this, he's the Charles Barkley.
And that's
of
what
today.
Seth would my brother would probably argue is that that would be Myles Garrett then. But I don't think that guy can exist in this game because you got to be able to shoot the three. And I just don't think Myles Garrett, the way he's built, he's too muscular.
Like you said, we've seen him do it at LA Fitness.
LA Fitness against guys like me. So listen, and then CJ, shout out CJ. She sends in the Draymond Green would be better than Jackson Mahomes, which is true. And you know what? For those that don't remember, Jackson Mahomes is the brother of Pat. And the reason I say that is because
wasn't he a basketball player?
No.
Yeah.
Either way, well, he danced on the sideline. So, but it was this. You remember 2 years ago that you just saw nothing but Jackson Mahomes, and all of a sudden he disappeared.
Yep.
Like Pat's like, all right, we're at the stage of my career now where you need to go. You can't be seen on camera anymore. Like, you'd be here and celebrate. You need to be up there in a way. You can't be on the field before and after. Can't have this nonsense. Same thing with Pat Mahomes Sr. Listen, bub, get a driver. You got to go home.
But either way, Draymond is actually an interesting one. A young Draymond in the NFL, maybe.
Now
just,
they showed
just
him
off pure rage.
They showed him at the spring game when he tried to play football at Michigan State and he got punked by a 5'9", 160-pound DB. So there's that tape floating around. So, but anyways, shout it out. All right, so into the NBA real quick. We've had a couple of games go back and forth, series, tied up at 2-2. We've had some compelling games.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of series that look like they might be getting out of hand. The Celtics, with what they did against the Cavs. No Donovan Mitchell, no Spider Game 4. Kind of figured that was going to be, it's a wrap. And they kept it close. They did keep it close. They cut it to 5 with like a minute left.
Nice.
But just didn't have the juice. Didn't have enough horses to finish that game and to try to tie it up at 2-2. So they're going back to Boston with a chance to close it out on Wednesday. We had a couple amazing games yesterday. I'll tell you what. That Denver-Minnesota series, which we were very excited for in that because we got to see them play a little bit, both teams live in person and up close, watch what they do. And to see, hey, Minnesota take 2 in Denver right away. And like you said, the talking heads were like, it's going to be a sweep. It's going to be a sweep. We never said that. Me and you, P, we never said that.
We said it was going to be hard to go into Minnesota with that momentum, but we didn't think a sweep by any means.
And what did they do? They won 2 in a row.
Yeah,
so
they did.
They took the home. And now they're on their way back.
They tied it up
to Denver. I will tell you this. They ended up losing yesterday by 8 points. And not that you can just correlate, but at the end of the first half, they gave up 8 points in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Minnesota did. It's not like that determined
I mean, one
the
of
game.
those is a freaking three-quarter
100%. 100%.
Yeah,
But it's because the guy made a bad decision on the inbound pass.
Yeah.
Like the turnover on Ant that led to the easy dunk, and then a guy not thinking it through, just throwing a wild throw. And yes, the guy hit a 3, but the point was like every possession matters in the NBA, in the playoffs. Regular season,
and honestly,
sure,
I
whatever.
think that's also,
but playoffs, every possession matters.
And that's even in the regular season, like that's kind of true against Denver. Like it's even more true against Denver, right? Like, every play does matter, but like you have to play, almost a perfect game, right? Because they do, maybe not in those first 2 games, but, your mistakes come back to bite you. And even in the end, they were trying to make things close. I think they missed 3 free throws in the end of the game, which, as everyone thought, I think it was Reggie Miller. Was Reggie Miller calling that game? It was saying like the whole time, like it feels like there's a run coming. It feels like there's a run coming. That run never came, right? And like even in the end where it did start to feel like they could make a run, they missed 2 or 3 free throws, clutch free throws. So those little things will come back to bite you in the playoffs against the Denver, against a team that, again, the talking heads kind of lit a fire underneath. Mike Malone showed him a video before Game 3 that people are counting us out, and never underestimate the heart of a champion. They came out and embarrassed the Timberwolves in Game 3. Like you said, a closer game in Game 4. But, hats off to Denver for showing us the heart of a champion.
And shout out to Mike Malone for quoting Rudy Tomjanovich. It just came to me. I was like, where's that quote from? The heart of it. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. Rudy Tomjanovich, when he was the coach of the Houston Rockets, when they came back and won, that's like his famous speech because he was like sick. There's a lot going on, but yeah,
I have a feeling that quote could be really old.
It
but
might be. He's the one that made it famous. I promise you that. 95 or 96 maybe. Either way. Speaking of coaches though, and what you get out of them. Sorry, I don't know if I'm cutting you off here.
No, you're good.
There was a change made here, obviously in the Valley. The Phoenix Suns dismissed Frank Vogel after only 1 year, signed a 4-year deal, I believe, maybe 5, either way.
He's
getting paid, yeah.
Doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't matter. Quote The Rock, it doesn't matter. They went out. They took their time. They didn't fire him right away, what like a lot of people figured they would. And they didn't. They decided to, it seemed like they had already had talks with the coach that they hired because it happened real quick. Like not just like, we're going to hire you. Do you want us to retain any assistant coaches? No. How much money? And they had it all in place. So, Holbrook native, Arizona native.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mike Budenholzer is now your new head coach of the Phoenix Suns.
What's his nickname? Does he have a nickname?
Bud.
Big Bud? Like,
Bud.
What do we got
just
for him?
Bud.
Just
They just call him
All right,
Bud.
Yeah.
Budenholzer, or Bud, I guess, but I think they call him Bud.
All right.
Budenholzer from Holbrook, went to Pomona College. He's a 5-time NBA champion, bro. 4-time assistant champion with the San Antonio Spurs.
Nice.
And then he won one as a head coach in Milwaukee, beating the Phoenix Suns.
Mm-hmm.
He's a 2-time NBA coach of the year. He's got the pedigree as far as like his dad's in the Arizona Hall of Fame for high school coaching.
Nice.
He won a 2A state championship. in basketball back in the day.
2A, baby.
2A back in the day. And to have him here, he's more offensive minded, and he seems like a no nonsense guy. Like he seems like the guy that they need in the sense of going to hold people accountable. And at the end of the day, the players have to hold each other accountable. Ty Lue went into this big thing about like, yeah, we can only do so much as coaches. These guys make $50 million a year. Y'all see what's going on. If something's not happening on the court, you guys need to self-police because I can only tell you so much because you're going to look at me like I make more money than you.
Yeah.
Like, and that's coming from Ty Lue, an NBA champion coach saying this recently. Like, this is something that goes on. So to have a guy come in who's more offensive-minded, because that's what this team is.
Yeah.
They're an offensive, they have weapons, so let's use those weapons. I'll be curious to see what he implements that he used up in Milwaukee, but what he used in what they called res ball. So he grew up playing res ball. He played up in the Navajo Nation, so he would get into a car with his buddies and just go find games. Like, this dude's a legend. He's a beast of a point guard. And the big thing with him was, like, they played up-tempo. It was like your Mike D'Antoni, your 7 seconds. Like, we're going up and down. It's pass, shoot, rebound, go. Dude. Pass, shoot, rebound, go. Like, this is how the game is played. So I'm kind of curious if he's going to be able to implement any of that. And I'm too naive to know if he did this in Milwaukee or anywhere else he was. But he's going to be able to implement that here based on the guys that they currently have in State.
Yeah. So, like, anyway, I was really, again, David Goggins was always my joke because I want somebody who's tough and going to whip these dudes into shape, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to keep these guys. They got to get a little more athletic, get a little tougher. Not just bringing guys in, like running these dudes, right? Sorry, Kevin, you're going to have to run a little bit, I'm not asking you to lift weights, but like, we're going to get faster.
He's 240 pounds. He should be able to lift weights.
He's 240. That threw me off a little bit. But anyways, like, it'll be interesting. Like if he's tough, but again, like I don't know his history. I know, like you said, he was in Milwaukee, but I think Milwaukee, the one thing they had was an established leader. Everyone knows that's Giannis's team, right? So I do wonder, is he going to be able to come in and, me and you have talked about this many times, like, should KD step up? Should Bradley Beal step up? The reason they're not stepping up is because they came in saying, oh, this is Devin Booker's team, right? And so in that case, Devin Booker, if Devin Booker, everyone's still thinking, oh, well, it's Devin Booker's team, and Devin Booker goes, well, this is still my team, like, then is the coach going to step up? Is he going to be able to get in Devin Booker's face and say, act like a team leader?
Yeah, I think you're going to have. I think the conversation is going to have to be had. Like, if you want to win a championship, you want to solidify a legacy, you need to get out of your comfort zone. And being just chill and low key is good, but it's not going to be good enough to win a championship here. Right. Like, everybody's style is different, but you have to be. Look, Navy SEALs their big thing is be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Like, be comfortable in the most uncomfortable situations. That's what David Goggins. That is what, to tie it back. That's nice. But that's what they need. He needs to get out of his comfort zone, and not that it's just like, like chill. Yeah. Like, we need you to more intense. We need you to feel like John Wick did when they burned his house down and killed his dog.
And like you said, and we've seen, I like that, but like you've seen, Minnesota was built to beat Denver, right? And, Suns fans really wanted Minnesota to go sweep Denver because it would make everyone think, oh, maybe we're not as bad as we thought. But no, look at where they are now. But, like, that team is bigger, faster, stronger than the Suns. The Timberwolves are. And Denver's, putting them to work the last couple games. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
The Suns do have a lot of work to do.
But they could get it done. And I think that, again, shout out to Matt Ishbia for willing to spend the money, make changes, make executive decisions, and try to write it as best as he can, as soon as he can, because he wants to win. Kudos to that dude for doing it.
Yep.
Sometimes you take swings,
for sure.
And sometimes you miss.
Yep.
Sometimes you take swings and you hit home runs, so we'll see. All right, other side of the break, we got more basketball to talk to, NBA draft, finish up on this, get you guys in, and the other side of the break. KDUS 1060 Phoenix, home of Dan Patrick, Rich Eisen, and us. James Out West featuring Pat the Stat. Come on back.
Back to James Out West on KDUS 1060.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us here tonight. James Out West, Pat the Stat Guy, Aaron, other side of the glass, KDUS 1060 Phoenix. All right, so we're talking NBA. Obviously, there's a game going on right now, Oklahoma City, Dallas. We had, last night and again yesterday, more games going every other day, basically. We got the Pacers-Knicks series is a fun one to watch. Tied at 2. The Knicks are pretty beat up right now. Like, Jalen Brunson's on, like, one leg. Josh Hart's playing 48 minutes a game. They're kind of banged. Right. They play like a 7-man or 8-man rotation. They don't go real deep into the bench, it seems like. So, like, there's a lot sitting on them. And Pacers played a great game yesterday. Yeah. Like, they were by 30 at one point. I mean, they were putting it to them. That house is pretty loud there in Indy.
Right.
where they play. And good for them for giving it a series. And I'm sure everybody in Boston is very happy about this.
Right. So I think it's kind of flipped, right? Compared to the Denver, Minnesota, where the away team has won every game. I think the home team's won every game in this series, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, again, it's 2-2 going into Game 5. And I did have a stat that is relevant to both series that are tied 2-2, that the Game 5 winner in a 2-2 series, 82% of the time advances. Wow. So Game 5 is a pivotal game for both.
Pivotal game.
I guess it's going back to New York.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing with the home teams winning. But the Pacers are 5-0 at home this playoffs. So good thing it is going to New York. Again, I told you off air that I started following Stephon Marbury, and he was saying that was an embarrassing performance in the last game. But either way, so hopefully they can make New Yorkers and make Stephon Marbury proud in Game 5. Because I'm rooting for the Knicks.
Well, and in true Knicks fashion, of course, while this is going on, they've got their team in the second round with a legitimate chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals and a legitimate chance, if healthy, to represent the East. And what's some of the New York Knicks media talking about? The Knicks are really thinking about drafting Bronny James.
Okay.
All in the hopes of, why. They're finally going to get their man.
Senior.
Like they want to get LeBron James so bad. Look, LeBron could be 50, and they'd be like, bro, you want to come play?
Yeah, he could be a senior.
And what's ridiculous about that?
Discounts. Yeah,
exactly. What's ridiculous about that, and in all jest and having fun with it, is like that the Knicks are young and good. Like, let's not bring in the circus. Like, why would you even be floating this out there?
Well, Bronny's young, but is he good? That's the
but I mean, like, you don't need the circus that comes with him and his dad, if that's the case. Now, I say that, and then shamelessly, I'm going to say you should probably, that's why he was at the Cavaliers game tonight. LeBron was scouting, hey, if this team is in the second round here with Donovan Mitchell, who may leave, they might need a guy like me to come in. And then Bronny gets drafted by the Cavs. It's kind of serendipitous, the son got drafted by them, he got drafted by them, blah, blah, blah. More than likely, LeBron's going to sign probably a 2-year, $190 million deal with the Lakers to stay there and not win a championship, and that's okay.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of people talking about, hey, what if this team drafts Bronny and then brings in LeBron? Like, LeBron might have to take a pay cut. No, that you just lost right there.
You lost it right there.
As soon as you started talking about LeBron taking a minimum or taking less money, like, I don't think that's happening.
Nope.
They need the team that can do both. Bring in Bronny and give LeBron a max contract. And to be honest, I think he has come out recently and said, not just it's just basketball quote, but he did come out a while and say, like, he is more focused on more things than just, playing with his son. Like, I do think he has realized, like, it's more about Bronny's future and what's good for Bronny. So if it turns out they're not on the same team and it doesn't work out, I think he will be fine with it. And I don't think he's taking less money.
Right. No, I don't see him.
That's the one thing I don't see happening.
Unless he really was, if winning another championship was the number one concern for him, which I don't believe it is at this stage of his career, it doesn't seem like it. Because if it was, you'd leave L.A.
Could you do like a Shohei Ohtani thing with him?
You would leave L.A. You would leave L.A. You would go to an Eastern Conference team. The Eastern Conference is weak.
Right.
You got some good teams. You've got one great team.
Right.
And that team can be beat. So I would, if that was your goal, was to win another championship, where are you going to get there? What's the least path of resistance?
Right.
And that is in the East, not the West. Not the West. You're seeing what's going on in the West. All these teams, and they're just younger, and they're going to get better.
Right.
The East has nothing. Like, the Knicks, okay. LeBron with Orlando, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. LeBron with Cleveland, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Because he's like that one more piece, that one more veteran, that one more thing, but not making $60 million a year. Those teams just can't take it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to him, if that's the case, he'd go there. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's happy in L.A. He's content with playing with the Lakers. He won a championship there. He felt like he's done what he needed to do there.
Right. Yeah,
he can make a ton of money there. They're going to keep him there. And everything's copacetic to his life. Like you said, stuff outside of it. Movies, TV, podcasts, et cetera, et cetera. It's in L.A.
Yeah, but just, I don't know. Like, to align Bronny being drafted, I know you've talked about him and Rich Paul and kind of like the pull they have around the league and stuff they can do behind the scenes, and that, I'm just, not aware of all the things that go on. But either way, like, yeah, who knows? Like, but I did want to say the Bronny talk, even though we probably skip a little bit of the Dallas OKC. Fine. I mean, the games it's currently going on right now, Game 4. I think Dallas is up a little bit.
They're up by 11.
So, yeah, either way, we're going to skip that conversation. We're going to go into the draft lottery and the draft combine. The draft combine was today, and a lot of the news coming out of the combine was about Bronny James. So he's officially been cleared to play in the NBA 9 months after suffering cardiac arrest.
Crazy.
So, congrats to him. But again, everything that I've been hearing today has pretty much been about him. I've heard about one other player, but other than that, Bronny James. He's like 6'1.5", 6'1 3/4", something like that. I can't remember that specific one. 6'7" wingspan.
That's awesome. What'd you say you said his vertical's what?
40 inches, like 40,
Get outta here,
40.5
bro.
was his top.
That's why he flies. He's only 6'1". He's a leaper.
Yeah.
Like, you see some of his dunks, he's getting up there.
Yeah.
So good for him and putting on a show
Yeah.
as far as, like, showing competency that, like, just because he didn't have a great college, career doesn't, like you said, he had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like-
and again, I think today also he finished second in the 3-point drill. I don't
19
have,
of 25,
19
you
of
said, which is
25.
crazy
Yeah, that's
that
what I
was
thought it
second.
Yeah, that is crazy. That
Like,
it's
the
second,
next guy
but
hit
either way-
20 of 25 at
Hey, look,
least.
Yeah. If, like, look, he's an athlete. He's got a nice wingspan. Like, when I saw 6'1", I was like, oh, man, or just under 6'2", I was like, But the 6'7" wingspan, he's a leaper and he can shoot. Maybe there is a spot. Like, he's not just his father's son and he's taking up a roster spot because you want his dad. Maybe he can be a weapon, right?
Right.
So either way, a lot of news about Bronny today. And then the other thing that came out was, we talked about this kid before, Alexander Sarr, when he came out and said that he was declaring for the draft. We talked about him. He's like a 6'11", another 7 foot, something like that, Frenchman. And he was rumored to be one of the guys in talks to be the number one pick. Now everyone's saying he's the consensus number one pick and that he's the man. And so after the draft lottery that we just saw, as Atlanta jumped to number one, it sounds like Alexander Sarr will be going to the Atlanta Hawks.
Wow. That's great. And then look at that. Some of the picks, we said San Antonio's got like the 4th pick.
Yeah,
and
so
the
yeah,
8th pick.
that was supposed to be like a little bit of a
Wow.
segue into that. So because the lottery was crazy, right? So Atlanta, by the way, this is a crazy stat. First time the Atlanta Falcons have won the lottery in their history, right? It's also the second highest leap in lottery history. They were projected to get the number 10 pick, so they jumped 9 spots from 10 to 1. In 1993, the Magic went from 11 to 1. So that's the
Did they get Shaq that year?
that might be Shaq. I don't know.
92, 93?
That sounds right. But either way, I doubt they got the number one pick
Back to
too
back.
many
Yeah,
times.
because they had him and they drafted.
I mean, that's quite the leap,
that's-
though.
yeah.
Like, that'd be amazing. But either way, a lot of stuff went on in this draft. And again, like, it's the 3rd year in a row that the Detroit Pistons will have the number 5 pick.
That's
And
crazy.
again, this year, I think they set a record for the worst record in league history. Is that correct? Yeah. Either
I'm
way,
going to say it sounds right.
yeah, they had a horrible season, right? To have a horrible season and not get rewarded for it, that's why, everyone's saying, like, what's going on with Detroit? Like, does God hate Detroit? Like, that's why I call them
Yes.
them
yes,
the Detroit
no.
Pistons.
Yeah, but yes. The answer is yes. God does hate Detroit.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah, the Pistons.
true.
The Detroit Pistons. I had to get that in there because it feels like it.
But
man.
it does. And I'll tell you what. And then you've got like, the Washington Wizards. They have the, the number 2 pick. You got Houston with the 3. Looking at this, yeah, you could. It's just so uneventful in comparison to the NFL. Imagine in the NFL, you have a team has the 4th pick and the 8th pick in
Yeah.
the first round, which
Well,
we've
that's-
had. We
but
had
yeah,
similar
so
stuff.
there's a-
And look how exciting it was.
Yeah,
The
but
NBA didn't care.
there's something to that, right? That we picked up on, right? So I was reading all these stories about the draft, right? And yeah, the Spurs, right? The Spurs have the number 4 pick. They jumped up to get the number 4 pick. They also have the number 8 pick. But another story was about these French kids coming into the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got Sarr, who's supposed to be number 1. Got another kid, I don't know how to say his name, supposed to be number 3. And then another French kid who's in the lottery, right? Like,
for
what
them.
if the Spurs can go get a compadre for Wemby?
Maybe.
They have a chance. Number 4, number 8, package it.
You never know. All right, you guys will listen to the James Out West feature Pat the Stat Guy on KDUS 1060 Phoenix. Make sure to follow Pat at Pat the Stat Guy on IG, putting out killer content. Y'all would love it. Make sure you check us out at the James Out West Show on YouTube. We're growing that bad boy. We'll be in here next week talking about probably the finals for the Eastern Conference, West Conference. You guys, again, listen to James Out West, KD60. Make sure you guys have a great evening. Be safe. One love.
Peace.